Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to show you how we took this challenging colt named Opie and how we got him a little bit more comfortable accepting the saddle, accepting pressure, comfortable with a human being above him, that sort of thing. Let's get into it. So I'm gonna be playing with Opie here. He's a 2-year-old that we're going to be starting this week. But when we were riding Gus around here, Opie was a little bit worried about somebody being horseback. So we're going to go ahead and play with him. He also yesterday really wanted to buck with the saddle, and so we're going to work on that a little bit too. But so we're just going to experiment here and see if we find any spots to work on. Real quick guys, I'm going to interrupt this video and I want to let you know about my Patreon page. If you're enjoying this content and you would like to see more videos or be able to ask me personal questions about you and your horse, think about joining my Patreon page. It's $10 a month. It's a great value. We drop a new video every week. We even do monthly giveaways. If you're not on there, you're missing out. The link is in the description below. Get signed up today. We'll see you guys on there. Opie also, even though he's a 2-year-old, he's in a herd of older mares and he wants to be dominant over him. So it won't hurt to have him get bossed around by Gus here a little bit. Gus is a pretty dominant horse himself, and he's a lot older than Opie. Just trying to get that front end to step through there. So he still hasn't yielded his forequarters. He doesn't like to yield his forequarters as much. He'll yield his hind end, but not his front end. There. See there, the front end stepped over. I'll take that pressure off. There's the lick and chew. Now we'll test it, and it should go a little quicker this time. There. You saw that come through a little bit quicker. I'll go ahead and work the hindquarters a little bit. So you can see he really willingly yields those hindquarters, but the front end's a little bit different deal. And mostly what I'm doing here is just getting Opie exposed to seeing a human on a horseback, since he got bothered about that a minute ago. Nope. There we go. So he finally stepped his front end over. Good. There we go. So it doesn't look like a lot, but just the fact that he's having to back down there is good. It's good for Opie. And this is an example of what I was talking about with them following a feel. Like, you know, it's a little different for him to experience this. There we go. You know, from this position, right? It's new to him, and so it tests that a little bit, obviously. It would be a good test if I could tighten it on him. Let's test it here. Because he's got to tolerate me being in nice and close here. So instead of giving me the easy way out. And see, this is one of the places that you like to, when you're working a horse off of another horse that you want to release him to, is being right next to him. Gus, don't bite him. But you can see, Gus, I've done this with a couple of other colts with Gus, and Gus didn't pin his ears at him nearly as much as he did Opie. So he could feel Opie, you know, not wanting to fully give ground there. And Gus is like, no, no, no. And then you could see, I thought having him follow us like this would be easier than walking backwards, but you can see when we put that feel on, it's a lot stronger, it's a lot firmer feel than when you're just leading a horse on the ground. And the point being that a lot of horses follow a human, but they don't follow a feel as well. That's what we're exposing here. But what's nice about this is instead of just tying him to a post, he's getting exposed to a feel that's not quite as solid as a post. Like I can slip dallies on this. And again, this is about getting to that core nature of a horse and getting him to follow a feel better and understanding what's happening there. And then also for him, the reason I'm doing it horseback is because he got upset, you know, when Gus came in here being rode. So I didn't know I was going to do this, but there. See if he's giving that front end. Yeah, see him stepping that front end over a little easier. He's just getting a little bit more compliant there. So let's see if he'll let me approach him on this side. You can see now he's relaxed enough now that he's thinking about laying down. That's fine. If he wants to lay down, we'll let him. We'll see if he lets me get up next to him here. Yeah.
So you think he's laid down there. Now, I thought that as being frustrated and sawing.
It could be. Could be. Sometimes, you know, they could do it from that reason, or they could do it. I think he was thinking about laying down. I could be wrong, but I don't know for sure. But I feel like he's wanting to come off of adrenaline. He was pretty amped up coming out here, especially when he saw Gus and, you know, the different things. So I like how well he's tolerating me being right next to him here. This is a good sign. You know, this is really the only way you can spend time being above them, which is what we're going to do when we ride them, right? And it's fun. It's a fun way to work with them. But you can see it could get a little hairy if you're not sure what you're doing. And one thing that was really important that I had to create when I was doing that is, if a horse is going to pull on you, they need to be pulling off the front or off the back. You don't want to get pulled off the side. So I kept trying to put Gus in a position where he was following me there. See him just lick and chew and settle from there. That's good. Good. All right. So I'm good with this now. Now I'm going to work him on the ground with a lariat rope. So I'm going to do a little session with him that I call rope therapy. And this is going to be about exposing him to the lariat rope. And it builds a little more depth because the pressure is going to tighten on the rope. So I have less control, physical control, but I have the ability to have more mental pressure. And there's a few things that I want to do with that. So the first thing I want to do is give him a flight line. Where I drive him off and then I ask him to stop. Right there. It's good to give horses some boundaries. And see, without having the halter on, there's more room for him to keep going there. Maybe I should have stayed on Gus for this. Okay.
I got him tame enough if you want him back.
Okay. Now I'm going to drive him away from me. And let him feel that rope there. That's what I wanted to see, that he was confident to put me back here behind his tail and wear that rope on the side. Now I'm going to put a feel on it. Ah, very good. Now I'll let him get relief. So I'm just putting him in binds, putting him in situations that he's got to solve the puzzle. So I'm deliberately trying to not make the answer obvious. I'm trying to put him in a situation where he's got to figure out how to get out of it. And that's why having the layered rope around his neck versus a halter on makes the puzzle a little bit better. So I'll do that again because that wasn't a great response. But this is, to me, this is part of what I would call taming. And this is just getting a horse to not rely on their prey animal instincts as strong. And you can see this horse, just for what we observed, he's relying on those quite a bit. He has some good handling and some good training, but I'm working on some taming. There, you see how quickly that yield came through there? Good boy. Okay, and we'll do the same thing on this side. So again, to get to the other side, I'm going to drive the front end away from me. Because yesterday this horse was pretty dominant, like real dominant for a 2-year-old. So I'm putting it low because I don't want it to go underneath his tail. And this is less about his confidence and more about his yielding. So I just stopped in there because that was a reaction. That's a reaction. He's just taking off over there instead of just following the idea of going this way. So I'm just shaping him and I'm asking him to deal. He's not reacting to this. He's you know, figuring out, what do I do? It's like, you just gotta get cooperative. As soon as you get cooperative, things will be easy. So like right here, he's being cooperative right now. I'll just leave him alone. Now I'll test my yield. Much better. Now, I'm gonna put the rope on a hind leg and ask him to follow a feel there. Normally I would do this with the halter on, and I probably need to put the halter on to get it set up. But I'm gonna not do it with the halter on because the halter is a bit of a safety net, and sometimes it's easy to use it too much and then he doesn't really understand following a feel from his leg. So I wanna expose him a little more because it's not as much about him following a feel from his leg. You haven't told me he has trouble with the farrier or anything like that. It's more about putting him in a puzzle. And if I have the halter and leader rope on, he's already gonna be thinking about stopping. And I wanna give the pressure on the leg a chance to have him really understand and build depth of his understanding of steady pressure. Again, wanting him to solve the puzzle. See, watch, he'll get relief right here. So his first thought was react, and he went, whoa, 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 it's okay. Wait, what is that? And then he looked. And then I kind of give him a little release there. No, don't turn away. So I'm gonna wait, see if I'm gonna get him to look at me. I can't make him look at me, but I'm not gonna release the pressure until he looks at me. He started to look at me, I release the pressure. Watch again. He starts to look at me, I release the pressure. You guys see that? So that's like the idea of using the psychology and reading them. Versus just making him look at me with a halter on. This is what it's about. Now I'll see if I can get him to take a step this way. Oh. See, he didn't get relief for going that way. I put a stronger feel on it. This is why this is rope therapy. Solving puzzles with the rope. And then I'm using my body here to try to guide him. Now I do want him to turn away. There we go. Now I didn't want that rope to slide down. That's unfortunate. But, so it's about teaching him to recover and not panic, and relying on his own instincts is not what will get him relief. Thinking through pressure and solving a puzzle is what will. And then this soak time is really important. He's being a real good boy. You can see you can just see the expression on his face. You know, he's like, huh, okay. Let's try it out of a trot. Here comes the feel. Good. This is what I would call a simulated got-to situation. Simulated. Same with dailing off with Gus and going forward. Simulated. It's not really a got-to. I can't actually make him go like that. But I'm putting on the pressure in a way that he feels like he's got to. And that's what's going to build depth of it for this horse. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and put the halter back on. And we're just going to do the flank rope now. So for the flank rope, I'm going to use the, he's a little complicated because there's different things going on. On one hand, he's pretty dominant. You got a little worried about Gus being on him, so I'm addressing all those different issues individually. The flank rope, the reason we're addressing this now is to release him to the saddle, because yesterday we put a bareback pad on him and he was pretty committed to bucking with it. He did get better with it, but I'm going to give the saddle the best chance of him accepting it without just saddling him and letting him buck around for a long time, day after day after day. We're trying to get him to be released to the saddle, to where the saddle's the sweet spot, so that we don't put in a bad habit there as we go. And then something I mentioned to these guys earlier is that I don't do the flank rope all that often, but I will. I'm not there's no reason to not go ahead and try it or use it with a horse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ring over their back, because I need the ring to be on the bottom side of this rope. And notice I'm using this softer, thicker rope instead of the lariat rope. The lariat rope can be a lot, too much pressure for this, and they can get rope burn. So after all the different ropes I put him on and how much pressure was there, there's zero rope burn on this horse anywhere. If you set it up right, there's there's zero reason why he should get hurt during any of this process. Like, that wouldn't be fair to him. So I got this ring on the bottom so I can pull it tight, and then I can drop my hand down and it'll give. So it's important that that ring is on the bottom, okay? Now, pretty much any horse will buck when you put a flank rope on him. What I'm gonna do is just ask him to tolerate it a bit more than what he would. And this is more of a ticklish area than where the front cinches are gonna go, okay? So if we were to just saddle him up today, there's a likely chance that we put in a strong habit of bucking with the saddle. So this just gives us a better chance of him accepting it. This in combination, wow. That steady pressure might have helped us out here. Hey guys? He's looking a little gentler, isn't he? So yesterday I did this with him in the front of him, and he bucked like crazy for a long time. So eventually we just had to stop and put a bareback pad on him because I couldn't hold it that long. And now with it in a harder spot, he's not. So what does that tell us? Steady pressure. We had to get to his DNA and say, give to steady pressure. That's where the relief is. Don't get worried about it. So that tells us that those exercises had more depth to it than what the flank rope is scary. So we've already solve the puzzle before we even got here. Because again, yesterday this rope was up by his withers and he was bucking really hard with it. Now I'm pulling on it in a ticklish spot and his head's staying down and he doesn't care. I hope that proves my point of steady pressure. One of the statements that I made to these guys is steady pressure is one of the most important things we ever get our horses to give to. And I think that this shows it right here with that flank rope not being a big deal. Because by getting him used to that steady pressure, your horse just got more tame, which is why he did, even though that rope was in a ticklish spot that normally horses are very protective of, because that's where a predator would go for them, is jump around them and get a hold of their flanks, you know, and that's what they would go for. So this is Opie's first saddling. Let me know in the comments below, after how much he bucked with the bareback pad and the rope around his belly, do you think he's gonna buck with this saddle today or not?
So how do I handle that?
Well, there's some strategies for that, but he needed to get gentler, which is the taming part. And in a perfect world, instead of, as a weanling, instead of getting a halter put on him, he would have learned to follow a feel better. When they're weanlings, they need taming, just like a Mustang. They're not tame yet. And I'm one of the biggest advocates of taming before training. Training is teaching a horse all the buttons and all the like little moves and yields and things like that. Taming is getting to that core nature of a horse and saying, first principles, these are prey animals that get scared of steady pressure. That is the most scary thing in his DNA, is steady pressure. So that's what I exposed him to today. And then but I did it in a yield. It was like, okay, wear that rope, but yield to it, give to it. That's what's really hard for them. As he solved all those puzzles, he got more confident with steady pressure. And so that makes asking him to just wear a cinch, and that's why the flank rope, all I was asking him to do is wear it. He didn't need to yield to it, he just needed to wear it. And that's all he had to do. So I got it snug where if he was to jump around a little bit, it would stay with him, but it's not tight to just send him off, tight enough to just send him off yet. So now I just let him sit here. We'll let him process this. I'm gonna get in a safer position where I'm over here in the middle. But he just found a standstill, he had landed. You can see how settled he is. Yeah, he's a different horse because he's more tame. So he is a different horse. Last thing you want is a saddle to roll underneath a colt. So now I got it cinched up a little more proper. Now we're gonna turn him loose. Raise your hand if you didn't think he was gonna wear a saddle like that the first few steps. I don't want him to get too close to me, but I'm gonna trade you out now. I'm gonna let you come in now. Easy, just ease him off. Ease him off. There you go. For those of you watching at home, hope that all made sense to you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one.